time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
When I think of South Carolina baseball at its best, that's what it is. It's players playing with that kind of heart and will, and it's a crowd that helped will a win with them. So to me, today personifies what I think South Carolina Gamecock baseball is all about.
Seth's a guy that will make some adjustments, but I think all in all, Seth started to find his swing at Louisville. He made a couple of adjustments just watching some film of himself when he's had success. And he even told us at Louisville, he said, I feel it. Like I can start to feel my swing coming together.
Did you get on Coach Spurrier for letting that one slip away? You coach him up a little bit?
No, I will never get on Coach Spurrier. No, we probably should have gotten it a little bit closer in. I didn't really see it, but I have some people ran in front of me right when the ball was thrown, but I wish we had gotten that one.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Hope you had a great holiday, whatever you were celebrating. Glad to have you with us here on Sports Talk as we begin another busy week. It is Masters Week. USC wraps up spring football. Clemson continues with its spring football. And, of course, the baseball season rages on. We got plenty of all that to talk about, recruiting for you as well after a big weekend. A busy weekend at South Carolina in terms of visits with the spring game. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes, and Brian Leonard all with you. Our phone number, 800-956-7266. Invite your phone calls to join in on the program tonight. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, hit us up there at SportsTalkSC. Be sure to watch us if you can't hear us over the radio. Watch us on our Twitter live feed, our Periscope. Just go to our Twitter location, Sports Talk SC on Twitter. You can find the stream there. So we got a lot to talk about. So we're going to break down USC spring game. Will was there for that. USC and Clemson baseball, both very successful over the weekend. We'll love teams in the state. A lengthy recruiting report coming your way. Zach Willis will be with us a little bit after 7 o'clock, a spring edition of First and 10 with the Gamecocks. He'll give us his take after watching South Carolina's spring game. He'll give us his expert view of what he saw from the Gamecocks. So I watched it on ESPN, and it's different, of course, when you're there. You see all the things that are happening on the sideline and behind the scenes and things of that nature. But was the tempo of the offense about what you expected to see?
I think when the first team offense was in there for those first couple of series, it kind of met what my expectations were. They were getting the ball out about 10 to 15 seconds in on the play clock. There wasn't a lot of the, get up to the line and look back to the sideline for additional signals. I think that the one thing I think you also can't get in the habit of doing is trying to take incredibly too much from this, because there were a lot of defensive guys that were not available, and they didn't really play an aggressive defensive scheme. I think so much about what spring games are is they want to control what it looks like. And I think if you want a narrative to kind of come out of this, if you are inside the South Carolina football staff, you want to put out the narrative that our offense is competent, at least from their perspective. So I think they proved that with what they showed. I think you're going to see a much more efficient offense this year, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to be what South Carolina fans and what we expected coming out of last year. I still think there's some more efficiency issues that need to be certainly curtailed. And I also think they still got to prove to me that they can run the football consistently.
Well, one of the things that interested me was we'd heard a lot about this guy, and I'm talking about players that's been in the program. And Keel Pollard made a tremendous catch over the middle just for the half. Diving catch. Here's a guy that's already quoted as saying, I don't want to sit on the bench. And he was a great player at a championship level of school in high school in Georgia. And I guess the other one is a few times, of course, they were playing touch football with the quarterbacks, except for the freshmen. And you saw, I guess, with the vanilla offensive line that was switching in and out, that you saw. Who was the guy? The guy who was shot. Blackshear. He was in the backfield several times.
He had a sack in the game.
So those are the guys I was looking at. Some guys you've heard about and supposed to have talent, and suddenly the light is supposed to come on. That's what I was looking at. And I don't blame Spurrier for dropping that pass because it was the order of the day. There was a whole bunch of drops.
I know.
And he wanted to drop one too.
Muschamp recognized J.J. Enagbare. He recognized Tyreek Johnson among the young guys. I want to focus on two more defensively. Recindo Lewis is going to be a hell of a football player. He is sideline to sideline type guy. He led one of the two teams in tackles. I didn't want to necessarily identify that just because of the fact that they were both kind of changing teams every once in a while, but he had 5 tackles in the game. And the guy that I really am looking forward to see on the football field this fall is Israel Mukwamu. I mean, that guy, the 6'4", looks every bit of 6'4". He is physical. He was paired with Shi Smith the entire time, and he was meeting him stride for stride. I don't think Shi caught a pass. So it was quite an interesting thing to see with a lot of these mid-year guys kind of getting their first exposure and acquitting themselves well.
Recindo Lewis, I still think that Muschamp set him up. I think they call that pass to A.J. Turner because they say, you know, this guy plays good football, but he keeps peeking in the backfield. Let's call this play and get A.J. Turner isolated on him and burn him. And I think that was a lesson learned.
His only blemish.
Here's one of the most important things of the offensive day for South Carolina. Did they look like they are taking a major step offensively enough to impress their 2 major quarterback targets who were in attendance? And we'll talk about both of them coming up. But that has to be part of the deal, too. You know, Muschamp's always aware of what's going on in recruiting. He had to show these 2 guys who are looking to be in a fast-paced, up-tempo, flexible offense because they're both runners as well as passers. And I wonder if they felt – well, I know what they felt. I've talked to both of them. They both felt like the offense – look like that to them. But again, in their private conversations with their family, with their friends, and with the coaches, did they feel like South Carolina's offense had taken that big step? I watched it, like I said, on ESPN, and just a couple of thoughts that I took away on the offensive side. I thought the first team line looked pretty good. I like the age, the experience level of that offensive line. In particular, I think that having Donnell Stanley at center and Zach Bailey at left guard, pulling those 2 guys. They did that a lot that I saw. They both run very well, and I think that's going to add an extra piece to their offensive scheme. You hear Eric Wolford talk about their offensive line. You got to have offensive linemen today who can run, who can pull, and lead various plays, whether it's a quarterback keeper or a sweep, whatever the case may be. I thought they did a nice job there. And I know Joyner, the quarterback, the freshman, had a couple of turnovers. One, he was very loose with the football, and another was a pick. But he has got talent.
He does.
And I think that they've got to come up with a package for him, not necessarily in a situation where you're asking him to throw the football, but you put him in a situation where he can run it or he can throw a little predetermined pass where he doesn't have to read much of the defense. He puts it in a predetermined spot, but his athletic skills, and you could just see it, and he'll learn how to protect the football as he goes through more and more practices. That guy, you got to find some sort of wildcat or something to put the ball in his hands because he is athletic and elusive.
But I think the one thing that is cemented, this is Jake Bentley's team. And I think, for people who might have been thinking and wanting Joyner to challenge for the starting quarterback job, he's nowhere close to that. I think this is Jake Bentley's team. It's his job. And I don't even want to say it's his job to lose because I don't think he's losing. I don't think there's a quarterback on this roster.
So how good did he look, Jake?
He looked very good. I think, again, he looked good. I still want to see him with a healthy Deebo Samuel on the field. I want to see whether or not he looks off Brian Edwards. I also want to see how defenses adjust to how Brian Edwards has continued to really take his game and progress his game.
Well, a couple of other things I saw is even though he's raw, Urick looks very tall in the pocket. That's a tall guy. And Darius Rush, from a guy who's been an option quarterback in high school, he carried himself like a wide receiver. He really did.
And I know you mentioned Keel Pollard. I'm still waiting to see who is going to replace Hayden Hurst as that safety blanket on 3rd down.
All right, our phone number, 800-956-7266. What'd you think of the Gamecocks spring game? Back in a moment.
Sports Talk is the sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. From the coast to the mountains, we cover it all.
It is Sports Talk Monday night edition from downtown Columbia, 800-956-7266. So much to talk about. Oh, yeah, they do have that national championship basketball game. Finally, we put college basketball to bed tonight. The long college basketball season going back to the 1st of October when they started practice. And here it is now, the 1st of April. We have the national championship game.
Were you itching to put it to bed?
Well, I mean, enough's enough.
Is that it?
We've reached that point where it's time to say goodbye.
Is that a fact?
And, you know, you've got, two really hot teams. Michigan's won 14 in a row. Villanova has destroyed practically everybody in its way. You know what?
Don't do it.
Taking a flyer here.
Don't do it.
Michigan. Defense, momentum, physicality, going to really push those Villanova shooters out.
I see your defense.
Mhm.
I raise you the probably most efficient offense in the
Man, they're
history
good.
of college basketball
They're
since they've
very
been
good.
charting these things.
What did I say Friday night? I thought that Villanova had that panache, that strength, that look in their eyes that we are the basketball school. Basketball is king at Villanova. This is what we're going to do. And they came with a paring knife and just carved up Kansas.
And that team they beat is not a bad team.
No, they served up Jayhawks for dinner after that. After that game was over. But I will say this. If people get angry with me, but I'll say it anyway. You men better put on a show tonight because the women put on a show in their Final Four. Every game
they did.
Was down to the wire.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. Just taking a look at our Sports Talk brackets in the ESPN Tournament Challenge, and an unnamed bracket owner goes by ESPN with a bunch of numbers. He's at 94.8%. He does have Villanova winning the championship. Eric Boynton from the Spartanburg Herald-Journal sitting in a tie for second with Bobby Harton and somebody named AJHD 103. They're at 90.1, but only Eric has a chance with the championship because he's got Villanova. Well, the other guy's got two brackets. He has his weaker bracket has Villanova as a championship.
That's weak sauce, by the way.
Yeah, let's don't be duplicating things here. Willie P, you're 13th.
I'm going to win the in
and
this room.
You've got Villanova.
I do.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait a minute now. I am right behind you.
But you can't beat me because you don't have the champion.
This is true.
So
this is true. I did make
it's
terrific. Cinched. I'm 14th. I was way down I was buried in the 20s after the first day. Mm-hmm. I was way down the list. I have made a courageous comeback.
But you fell short.
But I will fall short.
So sad.
Pro, you're 16th. You can't do anything more. You took Michigan State to win it all.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So
you guys are still looking up at me. It's all good.
That's it. Oh, you know what, though? Oh, I am a winner.
What's
you know
that?
why?
Why is that?
I beat K-Mac. He's way down there tied for 23rd. He had Purdue.
He probably had Florida. He probably had Florida winning it all, didn't he?
He got Purdue. Got Purdue winning it all. So, okay, it's a little bit of a victory for me there. 800-956-7266. Let's update some news notes of the day. Got a few things to pass along to you of interest to everybody. First of all, let's talk about baseball and the rankings this week. Clemson moving up to number 6 by Collegiate Baseball, 8th by Baseball America, 11th by D1. Coastal Carolina's 18th by Baseball America, 24th by D1, 27th by Collegiate Baseball. In the RPI, Clemson's number 4. Coastal is number 19. College of Charleston is 30. USC is now 65, coming off that sweep of Tennessee.
I think they gained like 65 spots because of that sweep.
Yeah, and playing an SEC team.
Yeah.
And Clemson, of course, sweeping Boston College. And Seth Beer had a great week. Hit 4 home runs on the week, batted .615, had 12 RBIs. He was named the ACC Player of the Week.
Doing it against that vaunted baseball power that is Boston College.
Well, this is true. He actually started coming out of his slump against Louisville. So this is bad news for the rest of the ACC. Big South pitcher of the week is Charleston Southern senior right-hander Evan Nations. He was very good in a 6-0 win over Longwood. He went 7 complete, struck out 5, and did not allow a run. And let's see here. The Hornets reportedly are going to name Mitch Kupchak as their new general manager. Longtime Lakers GM, former Tar Heel, good friend of Mike's. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. National championship odds tonight, Michigan, Villanova. Villanova's a 7-point favorite. Touchdown favorite. Typical of Michigan.
I'll take those 7 points.
Trailing by a touchdown. What did USC beat Michigan by in football in the Outback Bowl? About a touchdown?
Something like that.
That's typical.
Yeah.
And Randy Sanders, the football coach at East Tennessee, been suspended with pay. They're investigating a potential violation of university policy. Allegedly, he struck a player in the helmet during a practice session on Friday.
No room for that.
Why not? It's football.
Struck him hitting the helmet with his hand?
Doesn't say.
You could break your hand doing that.
You would think he would be the here we go. According to a report by the Johnson City Press, he allegedly struck a freshman defensive back when the back did not take a knee during a drill. Let's just put skirts on him.
Oh, stop it.
Seriously.
Stop
Let's
it.
put the flags on them. Let's put skirts on them. It's football.
No.
It's football.
You can't hit kids anymore.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Well, you should be able to.
You can't do it. The times
nothing
they
wrong
are different.
with football coaches getting physical, putting their hands on play. Did you see the video of USC strength coach Jeff Dillman today as he was working over at the – does that guy look like a guy that won't put his hands on you?
I think he wouldn't put his hands on you because they think he likes his job.
I think that he would want to.
Mittens on.
Telling you. Clemson guards Marquise Reed and Shelton Mitchell have filed the paperwork to be available for the draft. Brad Brownell announced today.
I'm glad you didn't say declared for the NBA draft because that's not what they're doing.
Yeah. They're just going to see what the NBA has to say to them. They'll be back, I'm pretty sure.
I don't want to guarantee it just because people make decisions based on different information that they get, but they should be back.
Yeah. And they've got Thomas coming back too. So a tremendous core for Brad Brownell. Those three, a second year of Amir Sims, and improving AJ Oliver and Clyde Trapp. They've got the makings of another tournament team next year, barring injuries.
And mentally, they have to know that they have gravitated toward the hunting stage, something they had to adjust to later on in the year. Because as good as you played last year, you got to play better next year because now you got everybody's attention.
People will be coming for him, certainly.
But it's going to be the same old ACC. I mean, Duke's going to have their national AAU All-Star team to put on the court, and North Carolina's going to have their 5 stars, and Louisville's going to have their new coach with great players, and Virginia's still going to be very, very strong. I mean, it's going to be the same ACC.
True.
Upward mobility. They might be as good, if not better, next year and not finish 4th.
You'll have Virginia
below that.
You'll get Virginia in your building. You'll have to go to Duke, assuming the way that they put the schedule out there. You'll have to go to Louisville, but there will be some opportunities, especially with the home and home in North Carolina. I think there'll be some opportunities for them to get some not only impressive wins, but also wins that get people's attention.
A change for the head coach of the South team for the Touchstone Energy North-South game. We're told today Dwayne Garrick of Barnwell will be the head coach now for the South team. And one other note, the Southern Conference pitcher of the week in baseball, Citadel righty Dylan Spence got the win for the Bulldogs with 7 scoreless innings in a victory over VMI on Friday, 5-0. Something else I wanted to mention, I don't understand. Jessica Shepard played a big role for Notre Dame.
Yes.
She was a transfer from Nebraska.
Right.
Yes.
And the NCAA approved her eligibility immediately.
Right.
Way back when.
Yes.
Which makes you wonder why. What were her circumstances and how were they different from
my quick answer?
The one in South Carolina.
My quick answer for you. She was in Nebraska with the Big Ten. Nebraska didn't give a darn and let her. She's going to ACC team. Let her go. We don't play her.
All right. So what about in the SEC?
Tia Cooper.
Yeah.
Tennessee has to play South Carolina twice and maybe in the tournament. We don't want her to play.
Again, the circumstances involving Taya's departure are a lot different than I'm sure Ms. Shepard's were.
All right. I just wonder these things. We'll be right back. back in. Welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-7266 is the number. Our poll question of the week: who do you want to win the Masters?
Wesley.
Now, who do you think will win?
Wesley Bryant.
Who do you want?
Wesley Bryant.
Now, we left this open-ended, but I put some suggestions on there. Wesley Bryant, Ricky Fowler, Sergio Garcia, Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, Doc Redman, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Bubba Watson, Tiger Woods, and other.
Larry Mize.
Right now, well, you can enter a vote if you want to.
I might.
25% say Tiger, 23% want Phil, 12% want DJ, and about 8% want Wesley Bryant. Nobody has voted for Sergio,
How about
the defending champ.
How about Francesco Molinari?
No, he's not on there. The one write-in we've gotten so far is for Bill Murray, spelled Murry.
It's not correct.
You know, you shouldn't waste your vote. A vote is something that is precious, and you should not waste your vote in such a way. You got time, of course. The tournament begins on Thursday, par 3 on Wednesday, practice rounds today. We'll hear from Wesley coming up in a little bit here on Sports Talk, and we'll have coverage all week long, of course, leading up to the first round. Don Williams, the master of all Masters reporters, will join us on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and to fill us in on everything happening over at the beautiful spot known as Augusta National. 800-956-7266. Baseball this afternoon in major leagues, and we have some final scores. Pittsburgh beat Minnesota 5-4. Detroit over Kansas City 6-1. St. Louis doubled up Milwaukee 8-4. And in the bottom of the eighth, it's Cincinnati leading the Cubs 1-0. Yankees, their home opener, rained out, actually snowed out. Yeah, snowed out
proving
against Tampa Bay.
Proving that God has a sense of humor.
Justin Smoke, by the way, my goodness. He killed the Yankees on Saturday and Sunday. Just killed them. And Saturday was Justin Smoke bobblehead day, and he gets the game-winning home run. And I believe, if I remember correctly, his mother and his children threw out the first pitch to him to celebrate his bobblehead day in Toronto. He's becoming quite the guy in Toronto.
You know, the Yankees might need to hire another bullpen coach just to treat them for whiplash because all the home runs.
Yeah, bullpen has not been good.
Yeah.
How the Mets doing? Have they won a game yet?
They're 2-1, actually.
Oh.
Smart.
We got 2 wins.
Yeah.
I just thought we'd win 160.
Somehow I feel that
not going to do it.
The Yankee pitching staff better keep everything low, because everybody talks about how many home runs the Yankees going to hit this year with their dynamic duo. Other teams going to start to swing the gorilla
Well, I'll tell
bats.
you what, the New York the Daily News. The Daily News was jumping on Aaron Boone yesterday afternoon about the decision he made to walk a batter to get the smoke, walk a batter to load the bases in the bottom of the eighth with 2 outs to get the smoke. And Smoke smoked them, as they say. All right, quickly to Glenn in North Charleston. Then we'll get to Will Muschamp. I know that's probably not the order you want to hear this in, but it is what it is. What up, Glenn?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good.
I just want to say that I still think that it's disrespectful, and I think the college, the NCAA, needs to get on the wicket and early and do something with these kids that's disrespectful for the flag. I'm in the military. I always will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the anthem and whatever. I would never take a knee for my country. But I love my USA, and if they don't, there's planes that goes everywhere. So
was there something involving the NCAA with that this weekend?
I didn't notice it.
I didn't notice anything either.
Yeah. You saw something in the basketball tournament, Glenn?
Not now. No, I didn't see anything in basketball. What I'm saying is they need to do it early before next football season comes around. They start doing.
No, you just wanted addressed early on in the NFL, so we don't have to put up with that with the NFL guys
again.
He was
talking about the NCAA, but I don't think the teams in the locker room.
Yeah, they say they're not even out for the national.
Yeah, I think he was transitioning towards the NFL guys there.
Oh, so okay, yeah, because they don't.
Anybody take a knee at South Carolina Saturday prior to the spring?
No,
game?
they weren't.
They were not out on the field.
They were out on the field.
Yeah. How were the old guys in their flag football game?
You know, I was surprised that Steven Garcia made it and stayed upright the entire time.
And their box is full of liniment, I guess.
Anybody really stand out? I saw a picture of Jeff Grant's.
There was one guy who was wearing like a really old school jersey. I was surprised Jared Cook played.
Mm-hmm.
That was one where I'm just like, do you think the Raiders really want to see
do
him
you
out on
think
the
maybe
field?
when he saw Spurrier drop that pass, he started laughing and said, let's make a little better effort on that catch there, Coach. Remember when he benched him in the Clemson game because he didn't go hard after a pass and he didn't play again? Let's go to Will Muschamp. Muschamp, after the game on Saturday spring game, unveiling the new offense, and he kind of gives us his review of the offense.
Pleased with, how we moved the ball offensively. I think we got a little ways to go defensively. We got to get better in some areas. We got to continue to build our depth on both lines of scrimmage, but we have a lot of numbers, and that's a positive. That's how you get better. It's a developmental game, and to be able to take the number of snaps. Last week we had 170. This week we were right over 100 probably. We've got 2 more days next week, and the emphasis is going to be on our young guys. We got to continue to get these guys to help us. And when we start talking in terms of our 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th offensive linemen, feel more confident about that. And the same thing on the defensive line. But, pleased with the progress that we've made. And but we got 123 days till we report, and it's 123 opportunities to improve and get better. And that's what we plan on doing. And I'll open up for any questions.
Will, you mentioned the 123 days. Just how crucial is it for the guys to do the throwing drills and everything they can do before they get back to fall camp?
The good thing is we've got really good leadership, and we have guys that are going to be accountable within our organization. And, I addressed the quarterbacks and receivers because we've had, Brian missed a little time in spring. Debo's been in and out of spring. We've got to do a great job in the offseason, throwing and catching. And that's going to be huge for us. We got to make strides in the secondary. We got to continue to have more guys that are game ready than we have right now. That's the bottom line. So these 123 days will be critical for every college football team, including us.
How do you feel like the offense executed with the tempo and the things like that?
Very well. We had one procedure issue that we probably shouldn't have had, but we didn't have any last week. We had one today. Very pleased with how our guys have received it. It's been good for our entire organization from a defensive standpoint of having to play against it. But certainly I think that Jake plays better when he plays faster. And I thought, the first drive we were in cover 2, and he saw the whole shot. He saw it pre-snap. I knew exactly where he was going with it. We didn't get aligned correctly defensively, but that's what happens when you create some tempo. But I thought we dictated the tempo well. We didn't do as much look back as we will do in the fall, but to be able to dictate the tempo of the game and control that offensively. Now you got to get first downs to do it, and that's going to be critical.
How'd you think Jake played overall today?
Good. I thought he was accurate. I think we had 7 drops maybe. We had a bunch, so we got to catch the ball better, and secure the catch before we start running with it, which was the issue in my opinion on several of them.
And your 2 freshmen, Jay and DeCarrion,
going to be good players. At the end of the day, the game's got to slow down for them. DeCarrion's got to take care of the ball better. In traffic situations, obviously. But I'm excited about both guys. Michael Skarnecki would be our backup quarterback. He's had a very good spring. He throws it extremely well. He's got a very good grasp of what we're doing offensively. So both guys will continue to progress. And these Monday and Tuesday we're going to practice will be 2 huge days for both of those guys.
How would you trace the origin of wanting to move this offense faster, and how would you grade the progress from the start of that to now?
I think the progress has been very good. I mean, we've always had the mechanism offensively to play at a faster pace. And I've been very pleased with the progress that we've made. Going back and just evaluating and looking at some of the fronts we've got to block defensively, the only success that people have had running the ball against them is with tempo. So you've got to be realistic to say, okay, if we're going to be able to run the ball successfully against some of these fronts we got to play against in our league, we're going to have to play with a little bit more tempo and be able to dictate the tempo of the game, and that's what we're trying to do.
All right, Will Muschamp. So, you want to walk away from a spring game if you're an observer. You want to walk away like feeling everybody had a good time, there were no injuries, and the team made a positive impression. Accomplished?
I would say it's accomplished, but I also think that the grade is incomplete because, again, I think they controlled things to a way. I don't think they showed as much on defense as they really wanted to, but they also proved to people what they are going to be on offense is vastly different.
Okay, we'll be right back with recruiting.
These guys, they never sleep. Check them out on the web at SportsTalkSC.com. Now, more of Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, let's get into the recruiting tonight because we got a lot to tell you about from over the weekend. Busy talking to a lot of people, following a lot of people, seeing what they're putting out there. Quarterback Ryan Helinski of Orange, California, was at USC over the weekend with family members. His story is a long and detailed one. Suffice it to say, he's an excellent quarterback prospect. He's in Hawaii now on a family vacation. Not totally a vacation. They're going to scatter the ashes of his late brother, Ty, in Hawaii. This is going to Hawaii is a family tradition for them going back many, many years. And, of course, his brother was the former quarterback at Washington State who committed suicide back in January, I think it was. And so the younger Helinski, Ryan, of course, remembering his brother every step of the way as he goes through this recruiting process. So that's part of what they're doing out there. Anyway, he released a top 7 yesterday after his visit to USC over the weekend. South Carolina, of course, is in it, and he really enjoyed his visit to South Carolina. His quote that stood out to me, I think South Carolina set the bar this past weekend with that visit. So it's going to be up to everybody else to catch up. He met with the president, Harris Pastides. He talked to Marcus Lattimore. He met Jerry Spurrier. South Carolina set up one of the directors of their medical school program to visit with his brother, who's going to go into a medical school at the school that Ryan selects. So all that was done by South Carolina for him, and he was very impressed. Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oregon, Arizona, Arizona State, the other schools on his list, and he's got some more visits coming up. He'll go to Oregon April 16 through 17. He'll return to Georgia for the spring game April 21st. He's also talking with Ole Miss about a return visit. He'll take an official visit to Arizona State this month. He said after those visits, he might be done. His brother will join him on those visits, and he's going to announce on Ty's birthday, which is May 26th. The other quarterback USC is strongly involved with right now, Garrett Schrader of Charlotte, was also in for the spring game with his dad, and he said on the top of his mind right now are USC, Mississippi State, Penn State, and West Virginia. I believe this is going to come down to South Carolina and Mississippi State, and it's really going to come down to the quarterback coach, Dan Werner at South Carolina, versus the head coach at Mississippi State, with whom he has had an extended relationship, Joe Moorhead. He knew Moorhead when he was at Penn State, and so he's very comfortable with him. He's growing more comfortable with Werner. He's made several visits to USC, and this past visit was very, very good. And he said the tempo of the offense was good. He said especially when they had their explosive plays, he liked how they got down the field, got back up to the line, and got right back after it. So he is going to be making his decision soon. No more visits. He is done with that. He's thinking within a couple of weeks, if not sooner, he's going to be talking things over with his head coach, of course, with his family. And then he'll go from there. So I would look for something coming from him in the next couple of weeks. Defensive back Jalen Simpson of St. Simon's Island, Georgia, was at USC for a junior day earlier this year. He plays on offense and defense in high school. The Gamecocks have talked to him strictly about playing in the secondary, and they have his attention as he goes through the recruiting process, as he really likes South Carolina and likes the campus and the facilities, and talking a lot to Travaris Robinson. Clemson also has offered him. He's visited there, but he hasn't heard as much from the Tigers of late. He was at Auburn last week with his teammate, Deshaun Sheffield, who also has USC and Clemson offers. He's also been to Florida State and Georgia, and he says he's really kind of his head is spinning. He says he has a different favorite practically every day. He will not sign until February. On Friday, in the recruiting report I left Will, at the time of the recruiting report, we had information from Bryce Thompson, the Dutch Fork, from him.
You actually gave me bogus info there.
Yeah, well, this is coming from him, where he said that he was considering, because everything, the USC situation apparently had come apart, and he was apparently having a hard time finding a Division I home at this particular time. And he said he was thinking about going to Benedict and playing there for a couple of years before trying to move on. But then he texted me back later in the afternoon, in the evening, after the show, before I saw it, and he said, no, he was not going to Benedict.
Maybe he was fibbing you or just joking.
A little early for April Fool's Day. This was on Friday. I don't know. I mean, his quote was, quote, I plan on going to Benedict for a year or two, then trying to find a good D2 college for me. That was his quote. So I take a young man at his word. If he fools us, he fools us. But that's what he said. So nothing else has happened with him at this particular point. And as of today, we're going to have to wait and see how this thing plays out, whether or not he decides to go D2 or decides to go junior college or prep school, whatever situation he can work out.
I don't want to say wasted talent, but the fact that he is as much talent as he has and he is unsigned right now, it's a sad commentary.
Well, he's bounced back and forth between he was at Dutch Fork, he went to Ben Lippen, came back to Dutch Fork. To me, that's always kind of a red flag when guys are bouncing around high schools for whatever reason. Sometimes they're good reasons, sometimes they're not. But I can't tell you anything more definitively about why he's in the situation that he is in. 2020 quarterback Jack Miller of Scottsdale, Arizona, plans to visit USC later this month. He told 24/7 Sports the Gamecocks have offered, along with Ohio State, Florida State, LSU, Arizona State, and others. He and Werner have known each other since his 8th grade. The Big Spur reported running back Quavaris Crouch of Charlotte will visit USC this week, possibly Wednesday. He was at Clemson last week. A reminder on scheduled Clemson visits this week from player interviews: linebacker Keith McGuire on Wednesday, linebacker Derek Boykins on Wednesday, linebacker Spencer Lytle on Friday, running back Cesar Malusi next Monday, and Tiger Illustrated reported offensive lineman Andrew Christophic will visit on Friday. A basketball note: 6'9" DJ Burns of York Prep plans to take an official at Tennessee Thursday and Friday. The Vols have offered USC as well, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Georgia, LSU, and Virginia. Per Hale McGranahan of SEC Country, some of the top 2019 USC targets spotted on the sideline at the spring game: linebacker Kalen DeLoach, defensive lineman C.J. Clark, defensive end Curtis Fan, offensive lineman Keandre Jones, offensive lineman Warren McClendon, also 2020 defensive lineman Tonka Hemingway. USC offered 2021 linebacker Damian Wilson of Kings Mountain, North Carolina. He was at the game Saturday. Running back Jeremiah Mackey of Seneca also was at USC on Saturday, and he hopes to get more interest from the Gamecocks down the road. 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns last season. Place kicker Patrick Nations of Walhalla was there as well.
Wearing the wrong color, by the way.
Yeah, somebody sent a tweet about that. The guy plays for a school whose colors are purple and white.
And it's basically in Clemson's backyard.
And he's wearing purple.
Yeah.
Big deal.
I wore purple to church on Sunday. Nobody really got mad at me for that.
He said they told him that it's coming down to him and another guy, and they'll decide at camp on June 16th. Some other prospects at USC on Saturday that publicized that they were there. Linebacker Samuel Brooks, receiver Demetrius Wigfall, quarterback receiver Travion Houston from Greer, Southside Christian tight end Lucas Raber, 2020 offensive lineman Seth McLaughlin, 2020 receiver Jalen Coit of Cheraw, who's also a basketball prospect, his teammate 2020 defensive lineman Xavier McIver, 2021 defensive end Kelvin Drummond, 2021 defensive end Detarius Glover, and 2021 offensive lineman Weston Franklin. Linebacker DeAndre Cornish of Burns was at Maryland Saturday. He was at USC on Friday. His teammate, 2020 defensive back Buddy Mack, also was at Maryland on Saturday, USC on Friday. Emerald tight end Luke Deal was at Clemson Thursday and Friday. He'll take his first official visit this weekend to NC State. Clemson offered 2020 linebacker Antoine Sampa of Woodbridge, Virginia, and Florida offered recent USC commitment defensive lineman Jakeem Green of Highland Junior College in Kansas. So the Gamecocks offer and get a commitment. All of a sudden, he starts to blow up. Amazing. They must trust Muschamp's judgment.
Bingo.
Huh?
Bingo.
You got anything else to add, big boy?
Questioning his character? Are you questioning his character?
No.
You wore purple yesterday. I thought only bishops were supposed to wear purple on Sunday.
They were red mostly.
Oh, okay.
We'll be back.